President Donald Trump appears to have a hearing issue, at least when he was asked about the horrific flash floods that happened over the weekend that killed at least 80 people. Around 40 others are still missing. Reported missing as of the most recent reports that I could find. Now, Trump spoke to reporters in New Jersey on Sunday, where he was challenged by critics who were quick to blame the death toll on the administration's disastrous budget cuts to the federal government, which include the National Weather Service. Take a look.
The Democrats are claiming hard federal cuts for the jets over in Texas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, selective hearing, I think. I mean, what? You couldn't hear that. To be fair, I mean, the plane in the background, but he never seems to do poorly with other questions with that plane noise in the background. So, interesting. Now, that said, later on, he was able to sort of answer the question. Again, sort of. He was asked later if he had plans to look into whether the cuts at the National Weather Service and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, left some key positions vacant. Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick did answer. Here's that.
Some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or the Emergency Coordination?
No, they did not. They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that water situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup, but.
Oh, it was the Biden setup. That was not our setup. And he added, I wouldn't blame Biden for it. Wait, what? Except you just kind of did when you said it was his water setup, whatever that is. What does that mean? It was his setup for the water situation. What are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Okay.
One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Where the water rushes out to sea because you could never handle it.
I don't know. I think he's got water on the brain or something. I don't know, but he cannot answer a question about water without it going completely off the rails. Okay. Insane. But okay, look, that said, look, none of that matters. Okay, his answers, because MAGA now has the message. They're going to go and critically, uncritically say that, oh, yeah, no, it's Biden's fault. How? Well, it just is. It's Joe Biden. And then, they'll eventually fill in the blanks as to how they're going to blame Biden. He didn't do this thing, or he did that, or they're just going to make something up. And then they'll move on. That's it. That's how this is going to work. Because that's how it always works. There's more, by the way. Trump was then asked, okay, should the government hire some of the people back that it fired from the National Weather Service or the, NOAA, okay, that their whole job is to make sure that people get, warned and so that we have accurate weather reports, all that. Here's his answer for that.
Fired in the last few months?
I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't. I would think not. This was a thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Very talented people are there, and they didn't see it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years. They've never seen anything like this. So I wouldn't, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing. But no, I wouldn't say that. No.
Wait, well, they wouldn't have seen it. They didn't see it. Maybe because they didn't. Maybe they didn't see it because they weren't there because they had been fired. I mean, that's a possibility, right? But that's not even the entire story here. The National Weather Service said it had conducted forecast briefings and issued warnings hours before floods came. In fact, the spokesperson for the agency told Daily Beast, quote, flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. So, all right, they did warn people. They warned people. All right. That said, the severity of the storms apparently was very unexpected. And why was that unexpected? Probably because they didn't have as much staff. Okay. Look, the reality of the situation is that this storm, they got months worth of rain within the space of a few hours. That is unprecedented. Okay. In the space of just 45 minutes on Friday morning, the Guadalupe River rose by 26 feet. And by then, there had been several flood warnings that were issued. Okay. On Wednesday, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, TDM, activated their state emergency response resources because of increased threats of flooding in parts of West and Central Texas. On Thursday afternoon, the National Weather Service issued a flood watch that highlighted Kerr County, Central Texas. It was really, really hard as a place of high risk of flash flooding overnight. At 1:14 local time on Friday, flash flood warning was issued for Kerr County at 4:03 local time. An emergency flash flood warning was issued for Kerr County, followed by another for the Guadalupe River at 5:34. So look, to be fair, the scientists, and the people at the National Weather Service did do their jobs, and that is despite the fact that they have been cut to the bone. And they got their warnings out. That said, people didn't realize the scope, while others didn't even receive those warnings. They were sent out, but that doesn't mean that people received them. That said, what about the staff shortages? Well, meteorologists have been rightfully expressing concerns about the reduced number of weather balloons that observe wind, relative humidity, and pressure above the ground. They're saying that the Trump and Musk budget cuts have resulted in about 20% fewer weather balloons being released, which of course will impact the accuracy of weather forecasting. And so, and by the way, when you hear about that, it's like, oh man, this less accurate now, then are you going to believe the flash flood warnings? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Now, in addition, the New York Times did report that critical positions of the National Weather Service were vacant on Friday morning. So how much of an impact that actually had, I cannot say for certain. Although I'm betting it did have an effect. Look, this to me, all of this, and excuse the pun, right? It feels like the perfect storm. You got budget cuts, for one, combined with extreme weather fueled by climate change during an administration that is run by climate deniers and also idiots. And look, in Texas, they don't really take the possibility of flooding very seriously. According to CBS News, transcripts of a meeting of the Kerr County Commissioner's Office discussed, okay? So there's transcripts where these people are discussing whether or not to install outdoor flood warning systems. And they did this several times within the last couple of years. Did they? No, they did not. Why? It costs too much money. Oh, okay. We got to save money. We got to save money. Well, what's the likelihood that this is going to happen? Oops. Oh, no. And that is despite the fact that this area is prone to flooding. Combine all of that, and you get what is essentially a disaster soup. Or maybe a disaster dumpling. I don't know. Let's not get into that. It's too close to dinner time. All right. Look, having Trump as president and Governor Abbott, leaders of the state and the nation, respectively, okay, having them as leaders when these disasters happen, and by the way, disasters do happen when stupid people are not in charge. Just saying. But when you have stupid people in charge, it makes those disasters that much worse, in my opinion. And yes, it's likely because of the policy. But also worse because of the response, or should I say, in a lot of cases, a lack of response. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, and become a member on our YouTube page. You can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.